So, hiding in my garage over here. So we've got a winch, another winch, some lights, some other LEDs of a different sort. Oh look, a winch, a fan. Oh, and look, you can win that one. Talk about that in a minute. And so what these all have in common is that they all run off of 12 volts. And they all need to go in SaraTerra. And you can also do this. Ah, I think I got myself. Don't do this. This is dumb. It's kind of fun. So this first box right here from our friends at Prohibited. I love how everything on Amazon comes with a really cool name these days. Inside of it is some LEDs. So you got your power supply, which we're gonna cut in half, controller, some wires and stuff, and then these right here. So these are waterproof 50/50 LEDs. They are multicolored. They're waterproof because they're encased in like this rubbery stuff. And so what we're gonna do with these is we're gonna create some lighting for inside SaraTerra here. So we've got this area all up here that's unfinished right now. And my plan for that is to get some of the thin 1/8 inch plywood that we've been using to skin stuff just like this, and make a transition piece to go up here to kind of cover up that gap. And then in the back here, where we're gonna have a little bit of space, we're gonna put these LEDs up under on the back side of the wood. And then at night, you can turn them on and they'll hopefully shine down and give you some nice ambient lighting. I did some like overhead dome style lights in my last camper, and they're way too bright to use at night. We have like these little reading lights on the side that we typically wind up using instead of the overhead lights. So I think like some recessed LEDs that aren't too bright will be pretty good. So let's just go cut our wood. So our wood panels are all cut out now, and oh my God, someone stole them. No one stole them, they're just over here. So I went ahead and finished these, spar urethane just like everything else. And the reason for that is we're going to be sticking our LEDs to this, and they will stick much better to a sealed and finished surface than they would plain wood. So typically with a fresh set of LEDs, they come with these little connectors on the end, and you can just plug them right into your LED controller thingamabob, and they work. But these are some leftover LEDs I have from our next project. So next project, winch and LEDs. What could it be? I don't know, we'll have to see. But with these, you have to make your own connection because someone went and cut them right there. So to do that, we have these little griever connector things. Again, with these names, I just love them. They're so descriptive, you know exactly what people are talking about. So the way these work is one end clamps onto your LEDs at the little connection points where it's copper here, so you can put those, you know, wherever you have a connection point. And then the other end goes into wire. So I have a lot of extra LED wire because we're gonna have to run wire all the way from the back of the car up to the front where we're gonna put our control box. So you stick your wire in the other end, crimp it down, and then you have your LEDs and your wire connected. So I'm gonna connect 2 of these real quick, and then we're gonna move over to the car, see how much wire we need and where we're gonna mount our controller. And so to cut your LEDs to length, all you do is, well, I mean, you actually cut them. So we want about yay much LEDs. We've got our little cut here indicator right there. And so we will cut there. There we we have our LED connection. And so typically I would use these little, these are like little clips with screws in them that you can screw to hold down the LEDs. But this is only an eighth of an inch thick, or 3 millimeters, and the screws are too long for that. So we're just gonna adhere this pretty good and hope for the best. So one thing you wanna make sure you do when installing your LEDs is install them on the right side of the wood, because I just installed them on the wrong side of the wood. So there's that. Now this is all dirty. You're not gonna stick well to that. So we've got our wire in and kind of run down here. And so what we're gonna be doing, oh, that door just closed itself. There's a ghost in here. What we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be making kind of like a control center sort of thing up here. So our LED lights are gonna go up here. Our winch controls are gonna go up here. Something else is gonna go up here. Oh yeah, our off-road lights, and a master power switch is gonna go up here too. So before I get that wire in a precarious place, I'm gonna go ahead and work on the end of this. So this right here is our LED controller, and it's got the infrared remote receiver and then 2 outputs for the 2 LED strands that came with it. And if you notice, the wires do not go into, this is hard to do with one hand, do not go directly into there. It's just, that's not natural, I don't know. But what we do have is another good name. We have, what is that, Synock? We have some Synock here. And what we're gonna do is we're going to solder our Synock to our wire here and make them one wire, and then it will go into our controller doobab. And to do that, we have the future automatic heat shrink. So these little guys are heat shrink, and then when they heat up, the middle of them has solder in there, and then it will solder your wires together rather than you having to solder them yourself and then heat shrink. Kind of, you know, takes a step out of it. It's easier anyway. So I'm gonna do a couple of these on this guy, and then we'll fish him through to his home up there. Turns out we have a little bit of a problem. So I got all the wood in here, I got all the LEDs ran, all the wires back behind here that come out there, hooked them up, they work. The only thing is there's not a ton of light, and I think we're gonna put some curtains or something over the window too, so whenever you put the curtains over it, it's gonna block all of our light. So this was a poor idea. So what I think we need to do is kind of reverse the way these are working. Right now the light's coming out underneath of the wood over there. I think we need to flip it and have the light come out the top and then shine all along the ceiling and reflect back down. And that way it won't be blocked by anything. Only problem is we need to run LEDs to do that, like from here all the way, probably up to this point right here, because then we'll do some curtains across the front here, and you don't need any light up there, which means instead of making that piece of wood all one piece, I should have made it one piece from there all the way back. And so now I'm gonna do what I hate doing, but we always do here at Zero to Awesome, which is redo what I just did. So let's go cut some wood. All right, so these are in here again. So what I wound up doing was slicing these boards right here, throwing another 1/8 inch strip on the back to connect these two, and then that also allowed us to screw in the LEDs. And I just cut like a couple wedges, one there, and up front, so we'd kind of angle off the edge of the car here. And so now, when you turn the lights on, oh, I unplugged it. Well, let's back into the garage and we can see it in the dark. All right, so you're camping in SaraTerra. It's nighttime. You want a little bit of light, but not too much. All you do is turn on your LEDs. So now we've got an illuminated cabin. There's no bright dome light right in your face like my other camper. And you can, kind of go about your business. So now the light's coming out the top. We can still hang some curtains all along here to close off the windows. Hang a curtain up front to close off the front windshield. And then you'll have some lit privacy, because that's the thing. And what this also lets us do is have party mode in SaraTerra. So this is working, that's great, but we got more to do. Oh, and while I was running the LED wires, I also ran a power wire down to here. So it goes up, over, and then up there where the LEDs are, and we'll get power up there. And that is going to be for this guy right here. So this is a USB outlet, and it also, you can't see it right there, but it'll display the voltage too, so it'll tell us what voltage we have left in our battery. And I'm gonna put it right in the side of that. So we'll get power from here, we'll ground it out, probably just throw a screw into the body, and then you'll be able to charge your phone, open the door, check your battery voltage, and all that good stuff. Okay, so this mess right here is how we're powering our LEDs right now. So you've got your power supply that plugs into your 110 volt household outlet, converts it to DC, and then goes into this controller box here. So this AC adapter right here, its output is 12 volts, which is coincidentally what we're running off of right here. So what we can do is we don't need to go from 110 volts AC to 12 volts DC when we already have 12 volts DC in the car. So what we can do is a little surgery, then throw this guy away, just like that. So now, if we're very careful and don't cut ourselves, we can open up this insulation right here. This is not a sharp razor blade. That side's broken. And expose the wires inside. So we've got two wires in here. We've got a red wire and a black wire. Red wire is gonna be our positive 12 volt power supply, and the negative wire, well, the black wire is gonna be our negative wire. So we can wire these into the car. We're going to be wiring them to this fuse box I got here. So this is, I think it's a marine fuse box I got off of Amazon. And you put power to it. So we'll go to the battery for power. Then you got your fuses that will pop in here. And then you have your power. So we can hook up a fuse for our LED lights. We can hook up a fuse for the fan we're going to put in. Hook up a fuse for the lights we're going to put up top. And we'll be safe and won't burn SaraTerra down. So the only question left now is, where do we put this? So I need to start building our control center up here so we can hide our LED controller and some switches and stuff all up in there. So I'm gonna start building that. If we have room for the fuse box up there, I'll put it up there so it'll be easy to wire everything in. If not, we'll have to put it maybe under the dash somewhere in the engine bay. I don't know, but we'll figure out a home for this guy. Alright, so we got our control panel thing installed up here. I used this is called a Craig jig, however you pronounce it, not really sure. But it lets you put pocket holes into the side of wood, so we got screws going right into the ceiling here. I got a lot of wires here. Hopefully I've run enough. If not, I'll have to run some more. But we're gonna start off with power for the fuse panel. So to get power up here, we got a positive terminal right here. We've got a 10 gauge wire going down to, we'll run it to the battery in a second. And so we'll put a ring terminal on him and throw him up there. Now when shrinking your ring terminals, you have to be careful not to catch your ceiling on fire. Oh God, oh God. We're gonna run our power wire down the A pillar here and hide it behind the trim panel and into the engine compartment. Okay, so our positive wire is going to go directly to the positive terminal of our battery. And anytime you're wiring stuff up in your car, or anything for that matter, you want to use a fuse. So we have an inline fuse here, and we're going to put our fuse in line with our connection to our battery. All right, and so SaraTerra just happens to have a boat battery instead of a car battery, so we have these nice terminals that we can use to just bolt this right down, but we're not going to do it just yet so we don't electrocute ourselves. Up next, our fuse panel has a negative bus bar here, so we're going to connect a negative wire to our fuse panel. And so I already ran our ground wire into the engine compartment here too, but we're not going to attach it to the negative terminal of the battery. We're going to ground it out right here where it looks like some other stuff is ground out. That way the power doesn't have to travel as far back to the battery to get juice. Okay, so I did something wrong. We are not running power directly to our fuse panel. Instead, we're going to run power to this switch first, and then the switch is going to power the fuse panel. The reason we're going to do that is we're going to have all these accessories back here, and if we accidentally leave something on, we don't want it to run down the battery. So you're going to be able to turn off the power to all of your camping accessories, and then we won't risk running down the battery. So normally you don't want to do this. You don't want to run power right through a switch, but these switches are rated to 20 amps, and the fuse we put down by the battery is also 20 amps. So if anything happens, it'll blow the fuse, won't cook the switch, we should be fine. So first we're going to run power to the switch, and then the output of the switch is going to be to the panel right here. Okay, so now when we turn our switch on, we'll get power to the fuse panel. Turn it off, not going to drain our battery. The thing is, there's a little bit more to these switches. Okay, so now we've got power going to our fuse panel whenever we turn our switch on. The thing is, these switches also have LEDs in them. So there's one in the top that lights up whenever you turn the switch on, and then there's another one in the bottom here that we want to light up whenever we turn the lights in the car on. So, you know, like your dash lights up, we want this to light up too. So I ran a wire here, and we're gonna go down, we're gonna come over to where the radio is, because there is an illumination wire that goes to the radio, and that we're gonna need to tap into that to power our LED up here. So whenever our lights turn on, our dash lights will turn on, and then this little guy will turn on too. So now I just have to remember how this all comes apart. So now, theoretically, whenever we turn on the lights, we have power coming in to this wire. And so we want to go ahead and put a terminal on here and connect this to the light input on the switch. The thing is, we're going to have a second switch for our light bars that we're going to put up top, and so we want this to illuminate also. So we're going to go ahead and splice into this guy when we put a terminal on him. So this is basically just going to act as a jumper wire, and then the terminal will keep them together. And on the end of our jumper wire, we'll put another terminal for the other switch. Okay, so now we've got a bunch of power coming into the switch, but we have no ground. So we need to ground out everything. There's two grounding pins on the back of this. One's for the upper LED, one's for the lower LED. So we're gonna go ahead and ground those real quick. And so the ground's kind of like the power for the illumination that we just created. You can just run them all together. So we've got two switches here, a total of 4 grounds for all the LEDs in these switches that we need to run, and these are really low voltage, so we can run them all together. And so we're going to get one wire that goes to 4 different tabs and then grounds out here on our negative bus bar. And depending on the brand of light you buy, sometimes they come with wires already pre-made, and so like this one is like a double negative to go and plug into wherever your ground is. So we're just going to start with this guy. We're going to clip him off and make a quadruple negative thingamajig. There we go, 4 negative terminals to go to our switches, all connected together, and then our ring terminal here is going to go on our negative bus bar and make the ground connection that our ground wire we ran a while ago goes down to. Okay, so theoretically now, if we turn on the lights, we should get this little lower LED on both switches to light up. And it does. That's awesome. And I just connected the positive lead to the battery, so if we turn on our 12-volt switch, we should get 12-volt power to this panel right here. We're gonna turn the lights off because that's annoying. So right now, no power. Flip the switch, our top LED turns on, and we've got 12 volts to our panel. So we're live, folks. We have more wires up here, we're not done yet. Okay, so we got 3 more wires up here that I ran, and I think I remember what they're for. And this white guy here, so this is gonna be the trigger for our light bar up front, and it's gonna be going to a relay. It'll trigger the relay. We'll talk more about that when we set the relay up. And as I'm connecting this, I'm realizing that our light switch doesn't have power yet. So if we put this on here, it's gonna send a signal of nothing to our relay. So we need to get power to our light bar switch. And I guess my original thought was we could just run it off the fuse panel right here, but I think we want our lights to be able to be used all the time and not have to turn on this switch and then turn on that switch. So we're gonna tap into the power coming into the switch here, and we're just gonna run our power directly over to our light bar switch, and then it'll have power all the time because it's connected directly to the battery, and we'll be able to trigger our off-road lights whenever we want. All right, power back to our 12-volt switch, power to our light bar switch. And so that completes all the wiring for our switches here. We still have 2 more wires. Oh wait, 4 more wires. Okay, so this black wire here, this is going to be power to our fan that we still have to put in the ceiling. That's right, we're gonna cut a hole in SaraTerra's roof. And this guy is going to get a ring terminal, and he's gonna be the first item that actually goes into our fuse panel here. Okay, so we've got a power wire going back to our fan, throwing our fuse here. That will connect the circuit, it'll have power. We'll ground the fan out whenever we install it. And then this red wire, so this is going to our USB charger we talked about a little while ago. And so similar to the fan, we need to give it power up here, and we will ground it out back when we install it. Okay, so that takes care of our fan and our USB charger. We still got these 2 wires hanging here. These are kind of what started this whole mess we're into right now. So if you remember, we cut off our power cord from our power supply, and so now we need to fix it. So we've got red and black here. All we're gonna do is run red to the positive, fuse it out, grounds our negative, we'll put it on our bus bar, and that will get power to our LED controller. If y'all are wondering why some of these like terminals and stuff are different colors, it's because they're for different gauges of wire. So red's smallest, then blue, then yellow's bigger. So it just depends, you know, how big of a wire you have. Another fuse for this guy. And then theoretically, if we plug in our LED controller, hook our battery back up, and turn on our power, our LEDs should work if I can find the remote in all this mess. It was back here. So LEDs on, and they're on. I think we have a functioning power board. So now that we know it works, we can make it look a little bit better than this. So we've got this faceplate here that I made. I need to cut some holes so the switches can go through, actually 1 big hole. And then we got this switch plate that will screw onto the front of the board. And then I've got a plan for some more stuff over here. So let's do that. So this is the power wire we ran from our fuse panel up front for our USB charger here. Gonna put a terminal on for the positive lead. And for our negative, we'll need another terminal for that. And then we need a ring terminal for the other end, because we're going to be completing our circuit and grounding to this screw down in there. I already tested it, it's a good ground, and so that's where we're going to go. So then the electricity will flow from our fuse panel to our USB charger, back through the body of the car, and complete the circuit. All right, so we got the interior buttoned back up. Everything that's connected so far is working, which brings us to, we should connect more things. So we've got our LED light bar light up here, but it's not connected to any lights. So let's go over here and solve that problem. So these are the lights we're gonna be using. I originally got them and they were gonna go in the bumper here, and that was gonna be pretty cool, but there's not enough room back there to put them there. So instead, they're gonna be going up there. So we have 4 lights, and this, I mean, they all came together, but it's not really a light kit per se. It's kind of create your own light kit. So we've got some mounts. We'll probably go ahead and mount these up there, and then we'll talk about how to get these things to work. And of course, there's nowhere good to screw these into, so we're gonna have to make something. Seen an Xterra without his little wind deflector thing on? It's like it's naked or something. All right, so our lights are all installed now into our bracket thing that we made here. And so each light is wired together. So the positive lead from each light goes to one positive wire. The negative lead from each light goes to one negative wire, and they both go through the side, over there, come out, go down here. And this is just, what is this called? It's nylon wire loom. It's way better than plastic wire loom. It protects your wires. It gets rid of that red color that we don't want, and it makes it look pretty professional. So it goes down here into the belly of the beast. And then down here we've got our one power wire and our positive wire and our one negative wire coming out. So next we have to make that all work, because right now they don't work. And to do that, we have some leftover relays and stuff from some lights I put in my truck. And so the reason we'll be using a relay is typically lights are pretty high power and you want to send power directly to them rather than going through the switch and blowing out your switch. Thing is, LEDs, they actually don't draw that much power, so we may not even need a relay. With 20 amp switches, we could probably run it right through the switch, but whatever, we're gonna use a relay anyway. And so what is a relay? A relay is basically just a switch. It's an electromagnetic switch. And so what it does is you run your power source to it, you run a negative to it, you run a trigger wire, and then you run your output. So whenever your trigger wire sends power to the relay, it trips the switch, turns on the electromagnet, and then your input power connects to wherever you're sending out to, thus instantly transporting you back to 1985. So the first thing I gotta do here is figure out what goes to what, but basically we're gonna have positive and negative going directly to the battery. We're going to have our trigger wire that we ran earlier from our switch inside come out, kick on the relay, and then the last wire will be our power wire up to the lights. And that will make our lights work as soon as we connect the negative wire. And so typically you do want to ground out or run your negative wire as close to your accessory as you can. The thing is, I was gonna go to like maybe some of these bolts into the roof here, but these are all apparently isolated from the rest of the car. They don't actually go into metal, so unless I want to screw into the roof, I ran our power wire down here, and we'll probably, you know what, maybe we'll just go to this same negative connection we used earlier. Relay is wired up, so now if we watch this horns vibrate, come over here and flip our switch. Oh heck yeah, they work. Winch, hole. I think you can see where we're going with this. So each winch has a control box that plugs into the winch. The control box gets mounted somewhere, and then you run your power wires directly to the battery. And you do that because winches take a lot of power, and that's the way they tell you to do it, so that's what I'm gonna do. Now you may find yourself wondering, why do we have two winches? And it turns out there's an answer to that question. I just don't know what it is. Alright, so we got our winches hooked up. Our winches are down in there. They're connected to their control boxes. One there, one under there. Control boxes run up here to the battery. You got a positive and a negative wire for each one. The only thing is, they give you these 50 amp fuses for the positive wires, but they have like no covers or anything on them. So if they move around, they could get a little zappy. That's not good. So I've got them zip tied here for now. Maybe later I'll get more fuses. Or maybe I won't. It's a SaraTerra. Who knows? But so now we got our, these are the controls for them, and let's see if they work. Nice and noisy, just how I like them. Yeah, so now our controls need a home. Where are we gonna put these? Oh, I have an idea. And there you go. If you ever want to take them out, use them outside. Oh God, they're on there good. Oh, come right off, so easy, see? So there's still one more thing left to install. Who wants to go cut a hole in SaraTerra? Oops. And while I'm wiring up this fan, this seems like a good time to remind you, or tell you if you don't already know, that you can win a fan just like this one. We've got two of them to give away. They're used, but you know, they work, so whatever. And all you have to do to enter is leave a comment in the comment section below, something about a fan, like give me a fan, I want a fan, this is fantastic. And then be a subscriber to our channel on the day of the SaraTerra finale. This is SaraTerra. We don't know exactly when that will be yet, but it probably won't be too long. I'd say like a month or two maybe. And so that will count as one entry. You can only enter once per video, but every SaraTerra video from now until the finale, you can leave a comment on. That'll get you entered. There's a few more rules. Like you can't live in Australia. Sorry guys, we love you, but UPS doesn't. So rules are in the description below, and I need to concentrate so I can get this working. Got it. Fan is in. We've got power coming from our fuse panel up front. Ran the negative wire over to one of these screws that goes into the wall over here, but it's up here and hidden. So now all we gotta do is open our fan and turn it on. So now we won't get too hot, and actually even when it's cold outside, it's good to go ahead and crack your vent. It helps with condensation. So we've seen everything at once, but how about all together? Well, that's it for today. Don't forget to leave a comment about a fan below and subscribe if you want to win a fan. And until next time, just remember, it may not be practical, but if you have 2 winches, you can sit here and play with yourself all night. Wait, whatever, see you later. And that is a dead spider. SaraTerra just keeps on giving.